It's been really interesting to see voice become a new way of interacting with devices, right? I think it's a very natural progression. When I think about voice, it's still very early. I think with the introduction of Alexa and Google's voice assistant, I think it's been really interesting to see how consumers are interacting with devices in a new way. It's a bit much more of a natural way, but still, I think it's a little stilted. It's still very much, you have to ask a question in a certain way. You have to, every time you speak a sentence, you have to say, Alexa. So it's not a very natural way of communicating quite yet. And I think that's where AI can come in. And as AI continues to progress, I think you'll see a much more natural type of communication where you and I can speak in the same way to machines that you and I speak with each other in conversation. And that's, I think, the next leap that all these voice interfaces need to make. And at Samsung, we're working on that with our Bixby assistant as well. But again, it needs to be a much more natural flow of communication without having to be scripted or be patterned in a certain way. I think the key here is being much more natural about the communication. If you don't ask a question in a certain way, it can get very frustrating. I know that when my kids interact with voice assistants today, they get very frustrated because it's not a natural way of communicating. So when you ask, what's the temperature today? It won't give you an answer. You have to say Bixby or Alexa or hello Google first. And then if it comes back with the wrong answer, again, you have to say the same sentence over again, maybe in a different way so that the machine understands it. We don't have to do that as humans. We know the context around which we're speaking. We know who we're speaking to, and so we know that we're directing our conversation to a certain person, and so you don't have to be stilted about the language that you use. When we look at our devices, we want a very natural interaction with our devices. We don't want that stilted interaction, and that's what we want to try to move to. We're continuing to see advances in AI and in natural language processing. And it's just, I don't think there's going to be a switch where all of a sudden all this changes. It's going to be a progression. It's going to be more of an evolution rather than a revolution. So I suspect that, if we look back at our devices 5 years from now, we'll wonder, like, wow, why did we do it that way? So hopefully in the next 2, 3, 4 years, we'll continue to see a lot of progression in the technology.